Mental health has never been more talked about, but that doesn't mean what you're hearing is true. I bet you or someone you know believes at least one of these myths. Some of them have been around a while, but some of them are brand new. Number 6 surprised me. Today I'm breaking down the 11 biggest mental health myths that you need to stop believing. I'm Patty. I'm the girl with blue energy. I make videos about mental health and personal growth. So let's start with one of the biggest myths. Medication is a magic pill. Now, I know nobody literally thinks that medication is some magic pill, like a magic wand you wave and somebody's instantly better. But since I've been young, medication was always portrayed in television and in movies and in the media, and even just people I know have some misunderstanding of how medication works with mental health. You don't just take this magic pill and suddenly you're cured, you're better, you don't have any mental health issues. I have bipolar disorder, and most people with bipolar disorder have to go through several trials of medications to get on the right one. And even when they're on the right one, it doesn't just magically fix them. It takes adjustments, management, and lifestyle changes, and having a therapist. So medication doesn't work like magic. Myth number 2. Now, ironically, myth number 2 is on the opposite spectrum. A lot of people think medications don't work, that it's just some big scam that Big Pharma made up, that ADHD and depression, they don't even exist. They are something manufactured so that Big Pharma can make more money. That couldn't be further from the truth. There are a lot of mental health conditions that medication has dramatically helped people to change their lives with. There's science to back this up. There's studies, but there's also millions of people who have been helped by medication, myself included. So this misconception and myth that Big Pharma is just making money off of us and we're just a bunch of idiots taking their pills, that is definitely a big myth and not true, and one that needs to go. Myth number 3 has been around a while, and it definitely needs to go. So myth number 3 is positive thinking cures depression. Like, if you just change your mindset and stop being a negative Nelly, you will stop being depressed. That is just not true. You can have a positive mindset and still be depressed. A lot of people that have depression also have a positive mindset, but by dismissing the depression like it's not a real illness and just trying to say, well, just think more positively, you're harming the people who need help, and maybe they need more medication, maybe they need something else, but positive thinking isn't going to cure them or fix their depression. That brings us to myth number 4. If you don't act crazy, you're not really bipolar. This is one I've personally experienced, and it's because I manage my life pretty well, and most people don't know I have bipolar disorder. One of the things people don't realize is that not everyone with bipolar disorder presents the same way. And there's also 3 types of bipolar disorder. So you can have bipolar 1, bipolar 2, or cyclothymia. Now, bipolar 1 has manic episodes, but bipolar 2 has hypomania mixed with depression. So sometimes you won't even see the mania because it doesn't come out with psychosis and some of the symptoms you think are associated with bipolar disorder. They might be the person that's the life of the party, or someone that's really sensitive and emotional. It might not manifest in the way you expect, but someone can certainly have bipolar disorder without acting crazy. Myth number 5, depression is just sadness and easy to spot. A lot of people interchange the word depression with sadness and think they're the same thing. So like if you're having a bad day and you feel sad, they'll say, I'm so depressed. But that is not the same thing as depression. Depression is more significant. It affects your quality of life. It can cause physical symptoms, aches and pains, lack of energy, fatigue, and other issues. It affects 8% of Americans, and it is not always easy to spot. In fact, some of the people that are the most depressed are the ones that are cheering you up and being funny, and you wouldn't even know that they were depressed. So it is not easy to spot, and it is not the same thing as sadness. Myth number 6. Bipolar disorder is like a death sentence. This is a new myth floating around, and they don't frame it like this, but there is a lot of misinformation going around that if you have bipolar disorder, you're going to live a shorter life. And some of this is true based on statistics. We are more likely to have heart disease, diabetes, stroke, some of the things that could lead to a shorter lifespan. But a lot of that is manageable through lifestyle, and it's not like a guarantee. Just because you have bipolar disorder doesn't mean you're going to live a short life or your life is doomed. I think sometimes that outlook changes as you get older. When I was first diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I didn't think I was going to make it till 20. And now look at me. So no, bipolar disorder isn't a death sentence. It's just something you have to manage to keep your health and your mental health stable so you have a happy life. Myth number 7, having a mental illness makes you weak. This one's personal. This one's been around a while. This is one of the first myths I had to deal with when I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I had a boyfriend at the time tell me, if you take medication, you're weak and I don't want to be with you. And I've since learned that I don't really care what people think. I tell most of my partners that I have bipolar disorder, but this myth is still around, that if you have a mental illness or if you take medication, you're weak. You're not weak, you're actually strong. Those of us that talk openly about our mental health, that takes a lot of internal fortitude and strength because you're putting yourself out there. I do not consider myself a weak person because I have a mental illness, and that myth is certainly not true. Myth number 8, having a mental illness makes you violent. I'm not sure where this myth comes from, but a lot of people do believe it. The truth is, people with a mental illness make up less than 4% of violent crimes. In fact, people with mental illnesses are more likely to be the victim of violent crimes than they are to be the perpetrator. So this one is definitely not true. Myth number 9, we should always feel happy. So a lot of people think that you're supposed to feel happy all the time, that that's the norm, that that's the baseline. Happiness is an emotion that you feel at times, but nobody feels happy all the time. We're meant to have different emotions. Sometimes we're angry, sometimes we're sad. None of those emotions are wrong, but we're not supposed to feel happiness at a constant. And if you don't feel happy all the time, it doesn't necessarily mean you're depressed. It just means that you're not happy. Myth number 10, there's a cure for mental illness. I don't know how many times I've had someone say, I cured my bipolar disorder, or I cured my depression, that I no longer have bipolar disorder because I changed my diet to this, or I prayed about it, or whatever. There really is not a cure for any of the mental health conditions. You can make changes in your lifestyle and stop experiencing the symptoms. You can use diet to manage the symptoms, and you can even go into remission and not experience symptoms for years. It doesn't mean you've cured your mental health condition. It just means you're managing it well, or you're not having symptoms right now. But the illusion that I did this and it was cured can cause harm to people who do need medication, or who follow advice of someone who's not a medical professional and decide, I'm going to do this diet or this prayer and now I won't have, bipolar disorder or depression anymore. The last one is myth number 11, and it is that kids and children cannot have a mental illness. And I'm going to acknowledge that I was that parent, even as a parent who has bipolar disorder. My daughter started having mental health symptoms at age 12, and I remember thinking, she's too young to be depressed. So this one, I know from personal experience, but also from research. About half of all mental illnesses start before age 14. So if you think your 12-year-old, your 11-year-old, your 7-year-old can't have depression or bipolar disorder or another mental illness, you're wrong. This is when mental illness often starts in childhood and in adolescence, and it's important that you not dismiss their symptoms as, well, they're too young to experience this. So did any of these myths surprise you, or have you experienced some of these myths in your own personal life? I know that I have. Let me know about that in the comments. The more we talk about the myths and misconceptions about mental health, the more we break the stigma, and the more people can talk about mental health more openly and get help more openly. So thank you guys for listening in. I hope you can see I'm really working hard on this channel. If you got something out of this video, please click the like button and subscribe. I'll see you guys again soon.